You know, the thing that you're called to do gives you energy. You can work hours at it. You can be up late at night and you are still supplied with energy. It's not something you put off. It just naturally is there when you are focused and you're in the flow of what you're doing.
Hi, welcome back this week to The Naked Doctor. I'm Dr. Tammy.
And this is Chrissy.
We have a wonderful show for you today. We have Tammy Jean VELASQUEZ on the show today.
Yes,
Hello.
the other Tammy.
The other Tammy Jean, yes.
Good to have you back.
And you're just part of the scenery now, because like we had a show and we just
really the conversation did not want to stop.
No.
We just kept wanting to talk. So guess what? You're welcomed back to more of our awesome conversation today.
Nice. And I was just thinking, it's funny because, you know, what our topic before was sort of started this sales thing, right? And our day job and how we feel this drawing to just this higher calling and just this deeper meaning kind of thing. And then we still kind of try to keep this over here, but yet this thing is still calling, and there's this healing part. And I think that a lot of people are feeling that too. And it was funny because we were just talking, and our editor and show producer was like, "Oh yeah, it's a thing, you know.
It's a thing. Me
my
too.
Wife was a
not
psychic,
just you
and,
guys.
you know, it's just like, okay." I'm like,
the more that we broaden the horizons, let's say that, and the more that we have this conversation, the more we realize the people around us are having very similar experiences. Right. And that's why we have the conversation, so that resonating shows up and we can say, you know what, it's not just me.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's this thing too where, you know, it's kind of this, you know, with you and I, Chrissy, you know, and I know that you've been into this intuitive space for a while, and it's kind of been like, well, we are the naked truth about health, wellness, and lifestyle. And so what are we telling the truth about? And what is my truth? And I'm going to sit up here and I'm going to say, oh no, it's just all about, you know, you go to the doctor and you get your pill and, you know, you do your thing.
Yeah.
Where is my truth if I don't tell you there's some crap going on out there in the world, and they're giving you some stuff in your food that's not good for you, and they're trying to throw big pharma down your throat, you know, and where am I if I can't tell that truth? Well, now I feel like I'm coming to this place where my truth is I feel like I have an extreme spiritual aspect to me. And what that looks like next, I don't know. You know, is this, you know, Tammy Jean coming into my life and then us, you know, kind of putting the band back together? Is this like, okay, God, no, come on, this is too much. You know, you almost feel like one of those little prophets that are like, no, I'm good. I'm
right.
good.
I got my calling, but maybe I want to back up a couple. Maybe not that calling. Maybe that's not what I was thinking of.
Yeah, so it's like, where do you go with that? And so maybe if you out there are feeling some of that, like, I know there's this thing I'm supposed to be doing. And it doesn't mean that you have to quit your day job. You can bring it into your day job, and it doesn't mean that you have to kind of go all out and hang your shingle, you know, as therapists like you guys are. It may just mean that you're there for your friends or your family in a way that has less fear attached to it than ever before.
Right. Share a little bit about when you're talking about the dimensional thinking.
We were talking about multidimensional thinking because that's one of those key words that keeps coming up. As our group consciousness, I call it an aggregate consciousness, because a collective seems a little, you know, like we share the same mind, and I know we don't all think like exactly alike, right? Like the Borg. So we have this wonderful group of creative people, and it seems that as they are becoming more awake, they want to be more individualized. That's the whole thing, right? They have a special piece that they want to fit. And I realized I was like you in a very corporate environment, focusing on people management, because that's where my natural talent seemed to be. When I was in a room with people that were having difficulty communicating, it was easy for me to come to the table with a certain set of words that seemed to make everyone else understand each other. And I had people on my team that would come to me and say, there's something about you that even when I'm feeling really negative, really down, I can come and talk to you for a few minutes, and when I leave, I feel better. And they would go, I don't know what that is, but see you later. And so I realized that there was a natural thing that was happening within me that was helping people get questions answered, helping people communicate with each other better, right? And then I was going through awakenings in my own life as well, and I had to find the tool. With you, it's hypnotherapy, and you probably have other tools as well. And with me, it became a set of tarot cards that really, really helped me communicate with my clients and to feel that. So I hope I was on the right direction with some of that, but it feels like I had that same thing where I had to realize that I was using my talents all along. How can I really put a label on that and figure out where this takes my life on the next step?
I think one thing that stays out of that is the business of when you have a healing gift that you have, and how do you do more of that, because it just feels so good.
Because it feels like you should too. I mean, did you feel drawn when you realized that this was?
But I was very fortunate that I came across a book that I highly recommend. John Akoff, I think I'm saying his last name correctly, and he wrote Quitter, and it is preferenced as don't quit your day job. So what he talks about is the business aspect of your gift, and really understanding a profitable business before you dive deeply and quit that day job. And so he has I really recommend it. It's a great book. But yeah, just starting slow. You don't have to dive in right away. There can be a smooth transition, and I feel like there's a lot less stress, and you enjoy the journey through the process.
So we're going to talk about that. If that's anything on a calling that you might have that you're just like, oh, I want to look at that, we're going to talk about how maybe you look at that, because it's not going to stop. The knock doesn't stop at the door.
Right. No, it really doesn't.
It's coming.
You got to accept that. So we're going to take a little break. We're going to come back, and we're going to talk a little bit more about how these beautiful ladies are using their gift as well. And you won't want to miss it. It's just nuts. I'm just like goosebumps
So
all the
exciting.
time. So
It just
exciting.
gets better and better.
And we'll be right back. Welcome back. I'm Dr. Tammy.
And this is Chrissy.
And this is the other
Tammy Jean.
Tammy Jean. I think this is going to have to be like a new band together or
We'll
something.
just have to have you open for taping every week.
Every week. Great conversation. And I just, even between breaks, like I wish they would just like leave the camera rolling the whole time. Like we could just be on here like all the time, because I know you guys are probably enjoying them as much as I am. But anyway, just to stay in the vein of what we've been talking about, it's just your gift and where it's coming from. And there's some calling in you. If you're watching this right now, I know that you've got some sort of calling to serve and to help. And at that point, it's like, okay, now what do I do with it? Where am I? And I think it's just you have to step into that gift. And I kind of did that with my practice. I found myself several times in my life working for hospital organizations, and it was just like, I felt like I had glue on me all the time. I just can't do this, And so when I was able to actually step into a different way of thinking and just kind of presenting, here's these things I've observed, and these are things that have helped people that this world over here hasn't helped before. And then you start having to I had to keep my day job, and I kind of had to move into that too. And so how you kind of start handing out that calling card that I'm doing this now, and just the target on your back, because I was kind of that, I was always scared to be like, well, I'm a medical doctor, but I was just kind of that woo-woo girl.
Right.
What's she doing over there in Lowell? Is she like witchcraft? What is that?
Yeah, what's going on over there?
People want to demonize what they don't understand.
Exactly.
And that's what keeps us small, and that's what keeps us in the box, and that's what keeps that nagging that comes after us, that chases us. So yeah, I just so admire that you guys have stepped even further into that than I have. You're brave, and we shouldn't even have to call it brave.
Oh, no, we shouldn't have to call it brave. And even though we're talking about, this just came to me, even though we're talking about spiritual gifts and what we've chosen to go, this can also be, I have discovered that I'm really good at making pies, and these are the best pies, and I would love to sell my pies or have a food truck, or or work in a preschool, it may not seem important to the people around you. I don't expect everyone to have the same desire to learn tarot cards or to, connect with that higher vibrational self. They may not have that interest, but there could be something that's really calling them that has a similar pull, and we're talking about that too. If the woo-woo part of it makes you feel weird, replace that with culinary skills, or replace that with
anything.
I'm a really great artist. And some of those things come in packages. There's those of us that you might actually have kind of a lot in front of you that you could choose from to do, and that could be part of it, is how do I hone down when someone says, what's my calling? Often they have several things that are presenting themselves that they're having trouble really honing that in. And that's, again, it's like fine-tuning an instrument is what I've noticed. It's honing those questions down and really getting the vibration of where like a map, where are you currently?
Right.
Where would you prefer to be? And then let's help plot that out together based on, I would call it like weather patterns, but it's the energies of the world and other people that you interact with. You don't get to live in a cave. I think we'd all be really peaceful if we didn't have to interact with anyone, but that's not the point of being here. We're supposed to bump into each other and then figure things out, right?
Yeah,
so
for sure.
that's the way that I've come to it, is anytime that I see someone get a little, I don't understand what you're doing and I really don't understand it, that's fine. If we don't vibe together, you're going to find your tribe and I'm going to find mine. And I'm not trying to instill ideas on anyone else, but I have found a few things that work for me, and I have some skills. What is that, Liam Neeson? I have a specific set of skills, and should you need these skills, I'm here for you and I can provide that.
Yeah, well said. Well said.
Thank
Because I think, we're talking about specific, categories of things that we're interested in our gifts. But to your point, the experiences that you've had, you've had, it's, taking those experiences and applying them to whatever gift or interest is of your own individual thing. And one of the things as you were sharing, I was thinking to myself, for somebody that's really, trying to figure out, well, what is that? If you're not sure and maybe you might get a little flack from your family or friends or a little unsolicited advice. Opinions, whatever that is. I would just tell you this, is that, the thing that you're called to do gives you energy. You can work hours at it. You can be up late at night and you are still supplied with energy. It's not something you put off. It just naturally is there when you are focused and you're in the flow of what you're doing. It's giving it back to you. And that's always a cue for me is, where am I aligning right with this right here? Because it gives me something back.
Right.
Even if it's what, somebody would consider work, to me, it's not, because it's in line with something that I'm interested in and where I feel like I can help somebody.
In that moment where it feels like you've unkinked the hose a little bit, like, oh, hey, I just found something. And that may be in more than one direction. And I just wanted to say, that's exactly how I felt when you approached me about doing this show again. It felt like someone unkinked that hose, and I got so excited in the moment, because this does not feel like work, that I knew this was going to be a wonderful thing. So when you've turned the volume down on fear enough, where that intuition can be listened to again. And you can take those cues of what excites me, what seems to be lighting up along my path. I don't have to worry about the specifics. Just play a little bit and find that excitement again. Wow, that's like playing Candyland again. It starts being fun.
Well, and Abraham Hicks always said, and then the universe will align and meet you there, and everything will just start coming your way.
I think too, when you're feeling in fear, you're hating to go to work every day, or you're feeling something, that discomfort is kind of like pushing you out of the womb, or like the cocoon with the butterfly, it's just, that discomfort is okay. It's just telling you that there's something else coming, and just to be prepared. So
prepare yourself.
They're saying it's time for a little break. When we come back, I want to kind of deep dive a little bit more into what they do and how they do it, and maybe some thoughts that maybe there's something that's calling you. Maybe it's to be a culinary school, or, how do you do that, and how do you do it comfortably? You don't just quit your day job and then just like you're out there with nothing, because that can cause more stress too.
Right.
So we'll take a little break and we'll be right back. Welcome back. We have a great show today, and we are talking about your calling, your gifts, sales, how to kind of move into that, how to be the fullest person that you can possibly be. And I love what you said. If you could say that again, that sometimes, you know, we think that, oh my gosh, there's so much fear related to we have to make that leap, like you have to like quit this job and go start doing this thing tomorrow. And you're not supposed to, because you don't have any training in that. You know, you don't have any basis to build your confidence to actually keep the lights on doing that thing. But what you said is
we
that
do. We
real
like to
leap
truncate
is just,
the story, and then we pick someone to compare ourselves to who's already way further along the path. Let's say Beyonce. I like to use that one. And I go, oh gosh, if I can't be Beyonce tomorrow, right? We get all upset. And we do hear people say, well, you have to take this leap of faith. You have to take this leap. And some of us get confused that that's a physical leap. Like I have to go quit my job tomorrow. I have to make radical changes to my body. I have to appease something else outside of me. But the leap, really, it turns out, is internal. Just making that physical understanding a switch that turns on to say, absolutely, Beyonce can be a goal for me, but I know that there are a million steps in between her and my next step is right here in front of me. So what can I take that's right here in front of me, and cut that up into little pieces. Don't get so far ahead of yourself that you're the guy that's sticking the stick in his own bike spokes and then crying on the ground because it didn't work. You've got to understand that, you know, our brain works in funny ways. It puts these big goals out in front of us, and then the way that some of us were programmed, it's a constant negativity because you're not good enough until you get that carrot on the stick that you never really get to. But when you know that you're on a good path and you can ask good questions, what's my next obvious step to take? And then you can take that step, celebrate it, and be ready for the next one when it shows up. That is progress, my friend. That's strong. And that's what I think I'm trying to foster in people when it's not, when someone may come to you with the question of what is this next magical thing? What are the lottery numbers? What is the magical pill for me to take? And my answer is tarot is always going to tell you what's the next thing within arm's reach that you need to work on so that that path can open up for you. That's the way that I see it. It's not, they may have a list and I may have them ready in thought of what their main questions are, but what always comes out is how do I make myself more ready for what's inevitably coming towards me? So how does that compare to like when you ask questions?
When I'm in acute, that's interesting because I was sitting here thinking very much the same. One of the things that I always notice in a session, even for myself when I've been working with somebody and when working with others, is whatever the specific concern, issue, or problem that's being presented is never really the real issue. It's never it. There's always something deeper that's a cause and effect, kind
of like with symptoms, there's maybe a whole pile of symptoms, but there's going to be an see how there's like all these parallels.
I love that.
And that's also multidimensional thinking, is understanding that those parallels are reflected in everything.
And in an QHT session, one of the main things that I'm looking for in working with an individual is one, what were they there for? Where are they needing help and assistance? But if, like say an example would be like what you're talking about from a job situation. And if you're looking at changing your career, when you know it, you feel it in your gut that I'm not aligning with this type of work today. And it's not bad or anything. It served me, but I'm just in it going to the next level, but you're having trouble making that leap. There's always that deeper hidden stuff to look at. Well, what's the fear? What's really going on? And/or, this is always a big one, and where the conversations get deep, is what is blocking me from being able to manifest and make that shift in my state of consciousness? What is the block? Because in QHHT, we find the block. And once that's lifted, then you're free. And what I found that's so profound about any type of healing work, no matter what avenue you go into, is that when you take the action steps that are needed, universe, source aligns with you and meets you halfway. We don't do it all by ourselves. We get in alignment, and then the flow happens naturally.
It is like catching the current. Like you've been doing something that's got you. I see a lot of water when I visualize these kind of energy flows, because it's kind of easy to visualize it that way. And if you are feeling like a part in your life where it's pretty easy, you're in the middle of that nice, quick-moving river. But there's times where we get up on a sandbar, or we get stuck in an eddy where we're spinning around and around. And it really is about, how do I catch that natural current that is here to help carry me along? What am I doing to fight it? Exactly. And you've got to, and it will be where you don't want to look. It'll be in that shadowy place where you it'll always be a realization, because that's where you, like, I always find something in the very last place that I look. Well, of course, it works that way internally too.
Right?
Tarot's interesting for me too, because you've done some sessions for family members and stuff, and it's just like, to me, I've always thought, because I'm always trying to justify, like in my practice, when people come and we're doing functional medicine type things, I always feel like I have to justify that there's some medical research that actually, placebo, double blind, supports what I'm doing. Like, I have to prove that this is real. But who says that just because some doctors at Harvard did it in a lab, that makes it real, So it's like constantly there's this thing. And so I'm always trying to rationalize. So like with tarot, I like pay attention from a very analytical, nerdy, kind of left brain.
That left brain,
I want to know exactly how this works and the nuts and bolts.
And so really what I see is not to diminish the power of all that is, but it's that you're starting a conversation. And, you did a read for me, and then then Donnie, my son, was like listening. He said, I want to do that too, because for a short time, it was all about me and nobody else. And how many people get that? I mean, we go to therapists, right? And that seems okay, but it's always like, in these times when we're working with somebody who is really outside the box a little bit and can really deep dive, because I feel like, and I don't know much about the therapy world, but because I've never really had much training there, but I feel like it's always like, well, what do you think? Versus, what is this block? Where is this coming from?
Right.
And
I always say, I have that disclaimer that says this is not a substitute for therapy, but it's more like a deep conversation with someone who knows you really well. Someone who is willing, like maybe not that great friend who doesn't want to hurt your feelings. That's one of the things I say about tarot. It will get in there and say that one thing, like, let's ask this question that people around you may be afraid to, or you have been afraid to ask yourself. It does kind of seem to get in there to that. It's reading that energy. I have to say it that way. Just like, excuse me, I can read your temperature by going like this, and I really can tell if you're having a problem or not. Now, it's not going to be as precise as the thermometer, but it's going to give me an indication of your health with this really old tool that I'm using right here. And tarot's the same way. There's a lot more to it than that, but it's the same kind of thing. It guides the conversation. It gives a framework to that so that you can really get into it. So that 30 minutes or that 1 hour is focused and direct. Whereas with friends, we wander a bit. You have some wine, you talk about your problems, you complain a lot. There's not really a target. Right? The questions and the cards provide that framework and that target so that work's getting done.
On the path.
Mm-hmm.
Getting done, exactly.
Yeah, I like that. Do you also feel like it lowers a little bit of resistance for you, really interjecting your thoughts about, well,
and
that was you oughta
probably and you can get, again, it's a tool. How do you want to use the tool? You want to build a shed, or do you want to dig a hole? So I do make here's how I want to use tarot, and I put that intention out there because I could interject my own, I always thought your husband was worthless or whatever, and I even in the read will make the differentiation between, this is my opinion, this is what the cards are saying, but this is the way that I'm separately from this, here's what I would, but and I try to differentiate between that, because sometimes I may see something coming in the weather that I don't like either. Or, hey, sunny days and you're packing umbrellas, why are you doing that? I mean, it's kind of I want to have my opinion, and I want to pull on my knowledge, but I know that there's deeper, broader knowledge, and I don't try to limit myself to just my opinion. If I did that, then I would lose so much broader. It's my job is to bring the message through. That's kind of the way that I feel
always
about
say
it.
in a session too, when anybody comes to see me, that we don't get the answers to the test. And life is a test.
Yeah. We're
But
not
this is
going to
just
get
one piece of, the missing puzzle. One more piece that will help you in, the next, couple of months on your journey. This is one more thing that's going to fill in some gaps, but we don't get the answers to the test because that's why we're here. We're here to go through the experience.
Just the experience. We can't judge it good or bad, but definitely think.
And if you're trying to play a song in E, I want to be happy, I want to be abundant, I want to be joyful, but you're tuned to the wrong key.
Right.
Baby, you're not ever going to be able to play the song you're trying to sing, right? So it's also about, let's see where you're tuned and tune you the right way. It can be forecasting as well as where are you right now. It can be, let's do some intentional work as well as here's where you're at.
I love it. This time goes by so fast, and we actually just went through our break. So we are going to wrap this up here. We hope you have a wonderful week. Hope we've inspired you to think some different thoughts. And, if you're feeling stuck, there is help. And that comes from lots of different places. And sometimes that comes from just the traditional doctor. It comes from somebody getting help with your hormones. It comes from someone who can spend time with you like these ladies do in a more inclusive type way where it really is, at least for a little bit, all about you, and they really just want your healing and to contribute to the bigger picture of healing and wellness, because it's all about relationship. That's just what we're here to do. And so, like you said, they'll find you. So if you're watching this, there's
There's a reason.
There's
Probably a reason.
So dig a little bit deeper and be okay to be who you are. And, maybe that's just going that next step and reaching out and finding people who are your tribe and just realizing that aha moment, I'm not alone, because you are not alone. We hope you have a fabulous week and join us back here. And we are probably just going to make Tammy Jean just a part of this set, and we're going to bring our producer into it. We're going to have the whole panel.
It's getting bigger and bigger.
It's getting bigger and bigger, and probably you too. So if you have any
Who knows?
thoughts, or you would like to be on the show, or you'd like to share or have topic ideas, just reach out. Our email, reach out at nakeddoctorshow.com. And we have all sorts of social media, and we'll put lots of links for the girls as well. But if you would, is the quickest way that they could reach you?
They can find me at Tammy, let me say that again. So Tammy at TammyJeanVelasquez.com.
Okay, and we'll put all that so it's tricky to spell it. And Chrissy, if they want to find you at Low Key Magical.
Low Key Magical with the K, that's all one word. And then on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, there's podcasts. It's everywhere. So just look us up. I know there's links.
She does the fun stuff. I mean, every day.
I know. I'm very entertaining as well. If if you're bored and you just want to have some fun, check out my channel. It's awesome.
I kind of think of it like some people check their horoscope every day. I always get me a little bit of tiny tarot, and it just kind of gets my day.
It does, and when you see it, it seems to apply. Isn't that weird how that works?
I don't know how that works. All right, y'all have a blessed week, and we'll see you back this time, same channel.
Yeah, we're gonna do it again.
Same
Stay
bat
tuned.
channel. All right, love you. See you later. Mwah.
Bye-bye.